Most of my works have questioned existing, protracted, socio-political issues from a standpoint of criticality. They have therefore taken a position against, an invitation for the audience to find or revisit their own perspective towards the question. Art does not transmit information. It asks for attentiveness from the viewer. Art re-embodies the viewing subject. It does not attempt to tell us who we are, but rather asks, who are you, and where do you stand? This same strategy is adopted in the case of works which are apparently characterized by a positive, aligned approach. And where paradoxically I recur to a metaphor of playfulness to introduce a negative perspective, such as in the case of red, white and blue, home, the die is cast, the domino effect. While exposing the situation from a critical point of view, I do implicitly embrace a cause. Therefore, I stand for. This is particularly evident in works like the Black series, where, by reproducing the articles of the constitutional text into Braille as embroidered black monochrome on black canvases, I point at the very inaccessibilities of those same rights, which are implicitly valued. Based on the body of works that slowly but relentlessly piled up over the years, and as things tend to make sense retrospectively, I can list among the issues that I have clearly privileged those related to human rights, environmental awareness, freedom of circulation, female empowerment versus patriarchy and male toxicity, interracial tolerance. Time is an essential category in my practice, which could be regarded as an overall experience, as a durational performance. The insistence on producing all my works by hand, while other faster, more efficient techniques are easily available, responds to the intention of incorporating a temporal component in the work, as well as considering the work as an extension of my own body. Although the practice is deterritorialized, intentionally unanchored geographically in its making, it is nevertheless temporalized, fully rooted in the chronology of making. The territoriality returns, in fact, under the premises of the body, regarded as the only admissible place of belonging. The deterritorialization is therefore only referred to a set geographic value system that responds to internal codes, but is widely disregarded as ineffective in reflecting instances of belonging. Ideas around the realization of the wall were evolving during the process of making. as I was questioning the purpose of the work and how it could be integrated into a wider perspective, that is, a perspective of historic reparation. The permeability of the material, its smoothness, are elements that intrinsically refuse, negate, and oppose to the fixity, the rigidity, and inalterability of the cement wall that the artwork takes as a reference. In mediating the relation between the aesthetic and the ethical, the audience engages with a physical experience where the emotional aspect is dominant, and they are called to respond from a place which is of bodily involvement. The prevailing feeling should be that of being overwhelmed by the presence of a separation, of an imposing, haunting barrier that is only secondarily perceived in its softness and malleability. Once the feeling of being trapped successfully conveyed, the next questions would ideally be how to break free. What does it look like to live in a context where the wall is inescapable? And again, how to break free. Connecting to my series Doing and Undoing, which is characterized by a looped sequence of embroidering and removing the stitches, thus composing and then dissolving words that symbolize political ideas and individual experiences which are universally shared. I'm introducing the dimension of undoing in the work within the site of the exhibition. It is only when we are confronted with reality that we think, I don't believe it. When we are confronted with fiction, we don't question the likelihood of what we are exposed to. The technique is one aspect, often a guiding instrument for refining ideas while pushing the material to explore innovative solutions. In my practice, most of the times, I have submitted the technique to the concept I intended to research or to the question I was addressing. I rarely granted it the freedom to guide me into a new direction or to simply be, to enjoy the pleasure of losing myself in the materiality of the medium. Unlikely with painting or sculpture, I didn't allow myself to make a mess, to mix colors. To answer the question about smoothness and its relevance in the process, I believe it is related to my preoccupation about softening, about diluting the problem, or over-aestheticizing it. Yet, of course, I do recognize great qualities to the materiality of the medium, to its ability to metamorphose, to its malleability, to its plasticity, which are all indeed sculptural qualities. It is probably when I started thinking of these characters of the material as an aggregated material that I also started thinking about the potential to create sculptural pieces out of wool. What is important here is also the notion of aggregation, The thread is linear, somehow directional, if tensed. It is only through the process of twisting it, of submitting it to the repeated back and forth transfer between iron sticks, that it acquires the qualities we recognize to it: its softness, plasticity, and malleability. It becomes resistant by means of softness. I think this is an important point as it comes to the project, which is also a reflection on the potential of exploring alternative solutions and of a reversal of masculine approaches. I am not suggesting that these alternative positions, this feminine, intimate, domestic approach can bring a solution to the problem. Perhaps, while taking them outside of the domestic sphere, one is already addressing a possible new way to look at the question. The translation of one material, solid, rigid, impenetrable, to another, soft, malleable, introduces the possibility for the body to interact with the surface by pushing into it so that it conforms to the body. Presenting absence by framing the void is a technique that I have developed over the past 4 or 5 years. Disappearing waters, nostrum mare, engulfed, etc., as a tool to revert the perspective, forcing the viewer to look from the opposite angle, to readjust their perception, and progressively to recompose the picture from that new position.